Thank you, everybody. Welcome to today's council meeting. I'd like to offer, so welcome everybody, staff, council. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask if there's any pecuniary interests to disclose to this meeting. Councillor Dirksen.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Item number 10A, Committee of Adjustment regarding Beehive Poultry Inc. And the reason for the declaration is our farm family rents cropland from Beehive Poultry Inc.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll declare that when the time comes. So I'd like to pass the minutes from our regular minutes of September 21st. We have a motion by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Dirksen, that the minutes of the town of Minto, September 21st, 2021 regular council meeting be approved. Anyone against, put your hand up, please. Seeing none, that's carried. Thank you. Additional items to disclose today. Thank you, Councillor Dirksen. Councillor Gunson. Anyone else? I have one or two. Okay. So moving right along, we have a resolution to move into committee of the whole to consider a public meeting. Moved by Councillor Gunson, seconded by Councillor Anderson, that the Town of Minto Council convene into the Committee of Whole. Anyone against? That's carried. Thank you very much. So we have no public meetings today. We have no delegations. We do have correspondence received for information. 2 items. Does anybody want to talk about any of these items or poll them? We should maybe talk about the big announcement from our friend Randy, MPP Randy Pettipies, 3.9 million for Perth Wellington. At what was the amount for Palmerston? North Wellington Healthcare Corporation, 1.037815, $1,037,815. That's wonderful. That's welcome news. So we thank Randy for that. The Mapleton Senior Center for Excellence, that's on there as well. So if we don't want to pull either one or talk about them, anybody have anything to say, go ahead. Otherwise, the recommendation is moved by Councillor McKenzie, seconded by Councillor Elliott, that the council receive the correspondence as information. All in favor? Sorry, anyone against? That's carried. Thank you very much. Reports of committees and town staff. We'll ask Mr. Paul Judge. Is Paul on? To talk about Trails Committee and
at this time I do not see Paul Judge on here.
That's too bad. So what will we do, Annalene? Wait on Paul? We have the chair of the Trails Committee.
So I'm unsure if he is attending or not. I have not heard.
Okay.
But you can have a look through the minutes.
All right. So we can do that. That was Thursday, June 17th, 7 p.m. by Zoom. We talked about signage. Is there anything on there that anybody wants to talk about? Talk about the restoration of the bridge at Third Line. The committee would like to investigate the cost.
I see Councillor Dirksen has her hand up through you.
Okay, Councillor Dirksen.
Just on that bridge off of Third Line, I mean, it's a great, oh, there's Paul Judge right there. It would be really nice to have that loop back again. Like, I totally understand that, but we need to make something that's indestructible. Like, you can't be having something that's just too much fun for vandals to mess up every time.
Thank you, Judy. Welcome, Paul. If you want to join us, we are talking about the Minto Trails Committee minutes from Thursday, June 17th. Would you mind taking us through that?
There we are. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, Paul.
Yeah, from a little ways ago, we spent the summer months. We have met. The committee has met through the summer. We've chosen, which I think is a good option, to do some site visits in each of the towns, because there's some new committee members, but also some that are more familiar with the towns they represent. So we've been a little bit behind the 8 ball as far as getting these minutes ahead. But just to recap the minutes from the meeting in June, we talked about some signage, just places that might or wording that might help eliminate any issues with liability, whether it be naming those trails as recreational, because that puts you under a different act, keeps us under a lower level or lower probability of any litigation. Also, just indicating spots that maybe are more challenging terrain or poisonous plants. Those are things that once in a while we're dealing with. So if we're aware of that stuff, we want to communicate that to users. Some of the linkages, there's a bit of a brainstorming going on, I guess, among some of the members, or an effort to develop a bit more of a broader long-range strategic plan to identify places that we can link existing trail sets to others and expand them, so they're just a more meaningful user experience, particularly for people who are coming to do that recreational that aren't necessarily members of our own municipality. Identifying also some of the places, we did a bit of an inventory of areas, trail sites, or parks that are identified on signage, and just doing a bit of an inventory on that, which ones going forward we should include, and others that maybe are in a state that we think they should be eliminated from the signage or websites, anything that indicates them as points of interest on the trails. And beyond that, just a bit of note about ongoing maintenance and things we've been working at to move forward with trails. And then we tend to end every meeting with the opportunity for all the members to bring forward just any suggestions or questions they've got to the group. So those are itemized under Roundtable there. I think that sums it up for now.
Do we have questions for Paul? Councillor Dirksen, would you mind talking about that bridge again and giving your thoughts to Paul, please?
Sure. So what I had mentioned was, I think it would be great to rehabilitate that bridge or rebuild it or whatever needs to be done so that we could get that loop back at Third Line.
Right.
I think that loop would be really nice to have in there, but I think we have to really think about how we would construct that bridge so that it could be indestructible, because there's no way you want to put a lot of money and effort and time into creating that loop again and putting that bridge back in there if it's just going to be destroyed by vandals again.
Yeah, I agree. I think myself and other staff would agree with that too. I think the expense to putting in is significantly more than maybe you might guess initially at what that is. I agree. Like you'd hate to see that expense be put out and then be in the same position very shortly after if it does happen to be vandalized. I can see both sides of that for sure.
Yeah.
Councillor Elliott.
Yes, Paul and the rest of council, out that trail, if that loop only takes you 100 yards down the road, so you're coming out the same road, so you walk down the road and go back in, really doesn't make a lot of sense to me to spend, didn't we get about $40,000? I'm trying to think the amount of money we got from insurance when that was built. Another one, instead of, if we were planning on budgeting that kind of money towards a bridge, wouldn't it be better to take that kind of money, if we thought that's the kind of money we needed, and put together upgrading our trails and making them more beautiful and doing more to them, instead of paying dollars and dollars and dollars for a bridge that separates you by 100 feet or whatever it is. It just makes a little more sense to me to spend the money more wisely.
Yeah, that's a good point, a fair point too there, Councillor Elliott. That's good feedback to take to the committee too, that it's maybe not as significant a gain as it could be. I think it's like a lot of things, if something has been established in the past, it's tough to let it go because that's what you're
Treasurer Duff.
Yes, Deputy Mayor, if I recall correctly, we got about $28,000 and we put it right back into trail enhancements, upgrading more stone dust and all that too. So yeah, it's a tough decision. I can see all sides, but that's what we did with the previous money that we received from the insurance.
Thank you, Gord. CAO Thompson, you got something to add?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just through you to Councillor Elliott. My understanding at this point is the committee is just looking at alternatives and potentially looking at what the options would be for that recommendation that comes from committee. It would come before council for budget approval and a fulsome debate. So although the committee, as we entrust them to do, look at trails throughout the entire community, I think on this particular case, they're just looking at ideas surrounding that bridge and that linkage. Am I right there, Mr. Judd?
Yeah, yes, I get the sense that they would like to see if there's a less expensive alternative. I know they had someone had mentioned like culverts as an option versus a bridge, but the piece that I understand talking to other staff too is that brings with it another whole set of expenses too in hydrology and engineering and whatnot that will very quickly eat up a significant amount of money too. So yeah, it was a bit of brain. I think it was the idea of maybe being able to rehabilitate that at less expense than we had expected initially.
Other questions for Paul? Paul, thank you for that report. Councillor Elliott? Quickly, yeah. Maybe we could put a rope going across. Is there a tree there? Or... That'd be an adventure.
Yeah, you're a little more lackadaisical on the liability side of it. So it sounds fun.
Forgot about that. Thank you, Paul. Any other questions for Paul? If not, we have a motion, recommendation moved by Councillor Dirksen, second by Councillor Gunson, that the council receives the Minto Trails Committee minutes June 17th, 2021, and approves any recommendations contained therein. Any opposed, put up your hand. That is carried. Thank you very much. Councillor Anderson? You are...
I just wanted to make a comment, Paul. I don't see you very often.
You have been muted, Councillor Anderson.
Sorry, I don't see you very often. I just wanted to give you a personal thank you and a shout out for all the work you and your crew do around the towns. They have looked absolutely, the town has looked marvelous, all of it this year. It's, you've outdone yourself. So we look forward to seeing what you're going to do next year.
Yeah, the pressure is on. No, I appreciate that. Lots of good feedback, and yeah, it's nice to hear that from all avenues.
Yeah, it looks really, really good. Good job.
So Paul, the other thing before you leave us, I'm not saying you are leaving us, you can stay as long as you want, but we had a very successful run on the pumpkin competition a few weeks ago, and thank you for babysitting them, and Judy, anybody else that was out there and put their finger on them. We did extremely well, and on behalf of the council, I'd like to thank you, and we really appreciate it, and we're looking forward to next year. So
you're very welcome. I got as much entertainment out of as anybody, I think.
Okay, great. Then let's move along to the Cultural Roundtable minutes, and we'll ask Mr. Duff to present the report.
Great. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. In Belinda's absence, I'll just do a brief run through. We had a really good meeting. We're trying to get up and running on a lot of these things. As you know, this committee is largely event driven, so it's been a challenging year and a half, but we hope we're on the upside now. The Minto Youth Action Council, again, kind of like a lot of things with younger people, we had a great group, but they grew up and they're off to post-secondary now. So Megan and some of the crew at the Grove, Mel and Jess and that, have been reviving it. We've had about 20 kids out. And as you'll recall, this youth council kind of comes up with their own projects and they plan how to do it within our parameters. And they relocated from Launchet to the Grove, and that seems to have been a good move in keeping things going. And any youth are certainly welcome to join and fit in with some of the new activities. The Pride Committee is also another a vibrant local group. They've been researching Pride crosswalks that some people may have seen in other communities, and they just are looking for something a little more permanent than the banners and things that tend to get removed sometimes. So they've got a recommendation that they'll work with CAO Thompson and Public Works to research the best locations and the best type of materials for this, and that'll come forward in the capital budget. We're right smack dab in the middle of Culture Days, which so far has gone a lot better than last year. We've had a good mix of activities, I think, for all ages. We've really leaned towards a lot of outdoor events this year where possible. We have a couple of indoor. Upcoming, we have a concert at Harrison Pavilion on October the 16th. And also John McVicker is back again to try for the 76th anniversary of the end of World War II. And that will be at the Harrison Community Center on Sunday, October the 24th. And there's many other smaller activities and self-guided and register through Eventbrite on the town website. We've also, carried out council's wishes as best we can to support a lot of our groups. And we've had both grants for buying PPE and doing promotion, and we've had some pretty good uptake on that. We're also back in the event planning business. Linda has organized a hypnotist fundraiser in conjunction with All Aboard Palmerston at the Norgan on October 14th. And we're doing some light up the park in the Palmerston Lions Heritage Park on November 19th, and a Kris Kringle Market on the 25th of November. Harrison Rising is doing the Halloween haunt on October 29th. That's coming up soon. And Ladies Night again on November the 17th, and Harrison Signs on December 18th. They're also going to have a Candyland Christmas with Mrs. Claus on December 11th. And not to be left out, Clifford Connects will be doing Christmas in the Street prior to the Santa Claus Parade on November 27th. And we ended all by the Fire Nights coming back for New Year's Eve this year. So that's been very good. And we also had CAO Thompson bring us up to date on the efforts of the county CAOs to address the whole diversity, equity, and inclusion issues. I think there's a lot of goodwill on all sides, and we recognize this isn't something that Minto can just on its own. So anyway, so that's very interesting, and CAO Thompson will bring us up to date on new developments, and we're happy to be starting with anything, and they're concentrating on land acknowledgement work, and perhaps Derek would like to say something. Any further?
Certainly. Go ahead, CAO.
Thank you. I had trouble getting unmuted there for a moment.
Yeah.
No, I think Treasurer Duff did a great job in describing it. I'm working with a group of county CEOs around a couple of things around truth and reconciliation and inclusion and diversity in our communities. And we're starting sort of a framework of what that looks like for each municipality, and hopefully I'll be able to bring something to Councillor sooner than later on a path forward to help us move those issues forward for the town of Minto. So thank you.
Thanks. And then we always have our roundtable where we hear what some of the groups are doing. Minto Arts Council reopened on September 9th after a 10-month shutdown, and we just finished our Saugeen Artists show. We have the KW Artists opening later this week, and that will go for a few weeks, and then we're going to have our traditional Christmas Island auction, which ends on December 4th this year. Film circuit is going to revive again. We're going to be showing I Am Greta on Monday, October the 18th, and we're working on a couple of things for November and December. The Theatre Guild is also back again, and they hope to present their play 5 Alarm, which was all set to run in 2020, but will now be running November 12th, 13th, 14th, 19th, 20th, and 21st. Out at Reroute Organic, they've got the Owl's Nest School back in session. With the help of Aaron Raftis, we've had a really good season at the Farmers Market again. And Councillor Anderson brought us up to date on the Horticultural Society, which has done well at improvising and doing Zoom and hybrid meetings too. And the library again is coping with the changing rules and trying to do programs as best they can. A lot of it's curbside and come and create, but it's going ahead. So anyway, as you can see, we've had an active couple of months.
Questions for Gord or Derek? Councillor McKenzie.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, I'd like to say that as much as we support, and we do from time to time, support special interest groups, and we certainly entertain suggestions from them. This business of colored crosswalks, I think, needs more discussion, and the amount of money that they've suggested. A red flag goes up for me with that, and I think there's a recommendation in there to pass, and I would ask for a recorded vote on the minutes when we vote on it.
Or go ahead, Councillor Dirksen.
Well, maybe you were, well, okay. So a couple things on these minutes. So first I wanted to say that I really like the fact that the kids in the MIAC group are learning about meetings and learning about processes and so on. And I really like how they have their minutes set up and all the action items. And, you know, it kind of, it makes it easier to see. I'm not suggesting that we can do that. We probably can't, but it just makes it nice when they're a kind of an action committee, the way they have that laid out. So I just wanted to make that comment. And then kind of jumping off of what Councillor McKenzie was talking about. So one of the great challenges of our day is the temptation to stay silent because, and thereby not offend anybody. So, you know, you really can't say anything wrong if you say nothing at all. So with that in mind, I'm not wanting to offend anyone, so let's not worry about what the crosswalk is. I just had a concern about the crosswalks. So the samples or the examples that were in our package, I think there was 5 or 6 of them. They were all done in 2021, but the range was from $6,000 to $15,000. Like, that's a red flag right there to me, because $15,000 is 2.5 times $6,000, and I can't see why the big difference. So that that would be something that's a red flag for me. It also stated that the Pride Committee was going to seek out fundraising and grant opportunities, but it looks to me like the town is actually being asked to grant $30,000, which should cover 3 crosswalks. So I'm thinking that's a little steep for what it is. I'm concerned about repairs and maintenance and vandalism and fading and that kind of thing. You know, one of the great mysteries of our time is how graffiti paint lasts so long, right? I mean, I love looking at graffiti, and it seems to just never fade or go away somehow. But anyways, I remember a number of years ago, like a long time ago, Listo put crosswalks in. You know, the green, they kind of put green boxes on a lot of their crosswalks, and so some of those have stood the test of time better than others. But I recall that the council of the day discussing them at that time and saying, like, how long are those going to last? How is the, you know, snow removal equipment scraping over them and all the traffic and so on and so forth. So anyway, so there's going to be an ongoing cost to them as well. And then I also wonder, like, what other groups might want to have a crosswalk installed. So the Legion might want to have one to commemorate our veterans, for instance. I just saw the Orange Crosswalk in Orangeville last week. That's it's reminding us of truth and reconciliation, of course. And perhaps the faith community would have an idea, Palmerston Lions, Ag Society, Horticulture Society, so on and so forth. So I think we need a policy going forward. Like, are we going to donate 10 grand to every group that might want a crosswalk in the future? I don't know, but anyways, I think as Councillor McKenzie said, I think it bears a lot more discussion and investigation and so on. And I'm not a fan of saying here's 30 grand to put in 3 crosswalks at this point in time.
Councillor Elliott.
Yeah, I just, by accepting the minutes, are we accepting that we are going to put crosswalks in, or are we accepting the minutes that they're going to look into that and report back to us on what they think what costs are? That's what I'd like to know. Thank you.
CAO Thompson, do you want to speak on that?
So through you, Deputy Mayor, turn to council. So I attended that meeting. I think the intention of the Pride Committee was simply to do some background investigation into crosswalks and to Pride crosswalks, and they listed a number of examples and costings. I did speak up at the meeting and say that the best course of action would be to refer it to me through my role in Public Works, and that we would do an investigation and look at all the things that Councillor Dirksen had mentioned and Councillor McKenzie around costing, maintenance, location, and then we would bring back a report to council for a full debate on whether or not this is something that we would entertain or enter into. So I think that was the spirit of the conversation that took place at that meeting. And I fully expected that we would be bringing back a report to this council with all those criteria in it. But Annalene, I think, has her hand up as well. So.
Yeah, go ahead, Clerk McGrath.
Thank you, through you, Deputy Mayor Turton. I just wanted to read to you the motion that was made. It was that the Council of the Town of Minto supports the request from the Minto Pride Committee for the installation of 3 Pride crosswalks, one in Clifford, Harriston, and Palmerston, and further that the Pride Committee work with CAO Derek Thompson and Minto Public Works to implement this request, and further that $30,000 be budgeted in the 2022 capital budget to fulfill the request, and further that the Minto Pride Committee will pursue grant opportunities and fundraising activities to assist with the cost of the installation.
So can we go ahead and pass this motion with the exception of that recommendation and refer to staff for a future report? Is that what you're thinking, CAO Thompson? Okay. So the recommendation is moved by Councillor Anderson, second by Councillor McKenzie, that the council receive the Cultural Roundtable Committee minutes of September 27th, 2021, and approve any recommendations contained therein. Go ahead, Annalene. Can we change that?
Through you, Deputy Mayor Turton, I know that it was requested a recorded vote through Councillor McKenzie, but
Okay.
if someone wanted to put through an amendment, we can do that.
Go ahead, Councillor Dirksen.
So I would propose an amendment that we remove the recommendation that Clerk McRobb read to us at the bottom of page 2 in the minutes. I don't know what wording needs to be there.
Through you, Deputy Mayor Turton, we could state the amendment would be remove and approves any recommendations contained therein and replace with for information, and further that a staff report come forward to council in regards to the Minto Pride crosswalk for their consideration. Is that what you're
motion?
Thank you very much, Councillor Elliott. Councillor Dirksen, question?
Okay, so I'm speaking to the amendment then. So does that remove the $30,000 from the budget proposal at this point then?
Through you, Deputy Mayor Turton, that actually removes you are not approving the recommendations contained within their minutes, and you would be asking for a staff report to come forward to council in regards to this crosswalk.
None of the recommendations.
The other recommendations, I can have a quick look, I believe were just minutes that were received.
Yes. Yes, they were. So basically we're going to vote on the amendment first, Clerk McRobb, and then
yes.
And so then the amendment's going to say that we're excluding that recommendation, and then we will vote on the motion. Is that correct?
And then we'll vote on the motion as amended.
Correct. Okay. So we have a mover and a seconder on the amendment. Is there any more discussion? So we're voting on the amendment. Anybody against the amendment? Councillor McKenzie, you're against the amendment?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to be noted? Because this is, so your first question was to have a recorded vote. Annalene, we're voting on the amendment. We're not.
Do you wish to have the recorded vote for this, Councillor McKenzie?
On the amendment?
Yes.
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 Okay.
Okay. So then we will have a recorded vote on the amendment. Annalene, will you go ahead and read the names, please?
Thank you. Councillor Elliott?
I vote yes for the amendment.
Thank you. Councillor Dirksen?
Yes.
Councillor McKenzie?
No.
Councillor Anderson?
Yes.
Councillor Gunson?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Turton?
Yes.
That's carried.
That is carried. So now we will vote on the motion that was moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor McKenzie, that the council receive the Cultural Roundtable Committee minutes from September 27th. And that's where it stops, Annalene?
Sorry, through you. I would believe we would do a motion as amended. So we would need a mover and a seconder. And the motion as amended would be that council receives the Cultural Roundtable Committee minutes of September 27th, 2021 for information, and further that a staff report come forward to council in regards to the Minto Pride crosswalks.
Anyone against the motion? Then that is carried. Thank you very much. So we're complete on this, Clerk Annalene McRobb. Thank you very much. So I'm going to pass the chair to Councillor Elliott to assume the chair for the PRAC committee minutes. Councillor Elliott.
Not real fast with my mouse. How'd I do? I'm
good.
unmuted.
You did really good.
Thank you. I'll pass this over to Matt Lubers. Matt.
Right on. Thanks, Councillor Elliott. We met last week under the pavilion at Lions Park in Palmerston. Grace provided us with an organ theater update. We're hoping as the weather changes, so will our attendance figures, but it's been a slow start for the entire industry. We're in the season of transition in our department. as outdoor programming has all but wrapped up and winter program is beginning. We had a busy summer with over 175 total registrations in our hometown ball and grassroots soccer program. It was great to give kids the chance to play these sports locally, and the volunteer contributions of our parents was excellent. There was no North Perth soccer. There really was no minor ball to speak of in our area, so it was great to be able to help, and it was great that the parents stepped up when needed. Regarding ice, this is our 4th week of operations at Palmerston, and the ice in Harriston will be ready for next Tuesday. We are working on alternative programming in Clifford, and some of the ideas include walking program, ball hockey, indoor shuffleboard, indoor basketball, and pickleball. Right now, the high school and the elementary schools are closed to community use, so we're going to make the best use out of our facilities as possible. We hosted advanced polls and the federal election last month, and this afternoon is the last booked vaccination clinic in Palmerston. It's been great to play host to these, and Coordinator Paul Johnson has been great to work with these past few months. We wrapped up the meeting with a discussion on the arenas, including an update on the proof of vaccination regulation enacted by the province, as well as the letter of instruction we received from our health unit. So yeah, we're into our 4th week in Palmerston, and it's gone fairly well. We're optimistic there won't be any disruptions and or changes to who can use the ice like we incurred last season. So yeah, here's hoping. That's all I got.
Thank you. I'll read the recommendation and then we'll go with questions. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, seconded by Councillor Dirksen, that the council receives the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee meetings of September 27th, 2021, and approve any recommendations contained therein. Now, any questions or comments? Yes, Councillor Dirksen.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. Through you to Matt, I'm wondering, you had said September 7th that there was almost 100 hours of ice time. And I understand because of new provincial rules and so on and so forth that, you know, there have been some cancellations. Can you give us an idea of how many hours of ice time we have booked now between the 2 arenas?
Yes, through Councillor Elliott. So we are still finalizing everything for this season, but that announcement, it cost us in the neighborhood of 20 to 25 hours of ice. So still enough demand for 2 sheets, but we would have much preferred to have 100.
Of course, yes. Okay, thank you.
Any, yes, Councillor Gunson.
Thanks, Ron. Matt, through Ron. Broomball, with the new vaccination policy coming out for Broomball, are they committed to ice, or is it just the junior right now?
Yeah, through Councillor Elliott, Palmerston Junior Broomball started up on Sunday, so they're good to go for this season. We're still waiting for final numbers from the adult leagues that play Sunday nights and Wednesday nights. So as of right now, we're counting on them to have a full season like they did 2 years ago. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. They typically wouldn't get started until the weekend after Thanksgiving. So yeah, that's had a big impact on certain users more than others.
Deputy Mayor Churton.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. Matt, do you anticipate making up any of those hours from anybody else that's going to come out of the woodwork? Or, I mean, have you went everywhere, and I'm sure you've done everything?
Yeah, through Councillor Elliott, the one thing that we did have a lot of in the past was out of town users that came, just with having 3 facilities open. We had some preferable dates and times. What we're seeing right now is a lot of the out of town, they're not picking up the phone and calling us. I think we've got Soggy and Maitland. We don't have the Lakers. We don't have some of the other groups that we used to that would come asking for ice. So at this point, I don't think we're going to make it up.
Any other questions, comments? I'm just wondering, when we were talking about broom balls Sundays and Wednesdays, that'll be about 8 hours ice time, would it not? So would we withdraw ice then out of one of the facilities and only host ice in one, if that was the case?
Yeah, so at this time it'd be 7 hours if it was 100% canceled. I don't envision it being 100% canceled, and at this point, when we're hovering around 75, 80 per week, even if we lost a couple of those, we're still not in a position where we could get by with just one. Certainly, if last year is any testament, we do remain flexible throughout the situation. I didn't fathom that we would go down to one rink in January, but I didn't think we'd get, shut down 2 times in 2021 either. So we will remain as fluid as we can be with the situation.
So our hours, are they all in prime time now, or we got a lot of our off time ice used too?
Most of it's what you would consider, prime rental time. We do have the high school running the grade 9 program right now. So those are sort of during off hours, but for the most part, no, your evenings on the weekdays, and then morning times on the weekends, and into the evening too. Like the senior 18 is back, so they've got a full set of games scheduled for Saturdays. So half at home, half on the road. So that's an improvement from last year. Right.
Right. So do you anticipate hockey tournaments at all? Or Councillor Gunson could probably answer that as anyone.
So as of right now, the WA is scheduling for tournaments. So yes, Minto minor hockey is put in for tournaments this year. So yes.
Good.
Right now, tournaments are a go.
That helps our ice time rentals then too. Right.
Yeah. We didn't have any tournaments last year.
So any other questions or comments? Okay, anyone against the motion? And that's carried. And I'll return the chair to Deputy Mayor Turton.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. I'll resume the chair, and we'll now go into staff reports. And we will ask Ashley, our planning and technician administrative assistant, to talk about the severance, the Norris severance at 5630 Highway 9, Hairston. Welcome, Ashley.
Good afternoon. So as Deputy Mayor Turton mentioned, the severance report is for the Norris family farm. So council may recall the minor variance that came through in August regarding minimum distance separation relief for if the neighboring barns were run at maximum capacity. So that relief was granted and no appeals were filed. So this is now the severance portion coming through. So the property is designated by the county official plan as secondary agricultural, which does permit for the severance of this lot. The zoning bylaw would permit for the construction of a single detached dwelling as well as accessory structures once the severance is complete. So after review, town staff are supportive of this severance application. As mentioned, the MDS relief was granted, and we are also recommending standard conditions pertaining to accessing, drainage reapportionments, and financial conditions. And we are recommending that council consider recommending the Land Division Committee approve the application with the conditions outlined in the staff report.
Questions for Ashley? Okay, thank you, Ashley. Hearing none, the recommendation moved by Councillor Elliott and seconded by Councillor Anderson. I will, Clerk McRobb, will I be reading this whole page, or?
I think through you, Deputy Mayor Turton, I think what you can do is just as presented. Okay.
So that the Council of the Town of Minto recommends the County of Wellington and Land Division Committee approve the consent application for B81/21 Agnes and James Norris for land legally described as Concession C, Part Lot 72, with the municipal address of 5630 Highway 9 in the Town of Minto, and that the following conditions be considered. Do anybody against, opposed, raise their hands, please. No opposition, and that's carried. Ashley, thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll move along to other business disclosed as additional items. And not sure who was first. I think it was Judy. Judy, go ahead. Councillor Dirksen.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just wanted to remind Council that this is Agriculture Week here in Ontario. So it's a time to thank and appreciate our farmers here in Minto, and the passion and hard work that they give to each of us every day. Agriculture is the first or second generator of GDP in the province. It kind of goes back and forth with the auto industry, but contributes billions of dollars to the provincial economy and hundreds of thousands of jobs.
Thank you, Councillor Dirksen. Councillor Gunson, do you want to go ahead?
Sure. Thanks, Dave. So every year at the WAA AGM, they hand out an honor award, and it's called the Mike Weichel Trophy, and it's awarded annually. And it's to recognize and reward individuals for their outstanding efforts in minor sports. And this year, my favorite father-in-law got that award, Rick Fisk. So I just wanted to congratulate Rick. So anybody that doesn't know Rick, he's still currently the GM of the Minto 81 Senior Hockey Club. So congratulations to Rick.
Congratulations to Rick. So what's he get, a plaque for that?
A plaque, and his name is on another plaque that stays at the WAA office. And I think there's been 5 or 6 from Minto get that award in the past.
It's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
It stems around our volunteers, and Rick Fisk, certainly a great volunteer in our community. He has been for a long time. Any other business? I'd just like to say that I was in attendance at the Grove grand opening in Palmerston, and Councillor Elliott and I toured the building, and it's absolutely beautiful. And I encourage anyone that's over that way, stop in and see Melanie, because I mean, it's worth the trip over there just to see exactly what the building looks like and what they're doing there. So there was a lot of dignitaries there. Our mayor was there and helped Randy and John and Councillor Black, Mr. Black from Senator Black. Thank you. So it was a good day, and it was certainly well worth going. Second thing, I'd like to thank Derek and his staff and anybody else that was involved on Thursday, the Truth and Reconciliation Day. I understand that there was a lot of our employees wore orange, as I did as well, and thank them for grouping together and getting their picture taken. Hopefully they'll be in the Wellington Advertiser. So thank you for taking part in that. Nothing else then, we'll move along to the resolutions. Go ahead.
Through you. Our next thing will be the public committee of adjustment. So at this time, I would suggest we recess and return at 5 p.m.
Okay, Councillor McKenzie. Go ahead.
Other business, Deputy Mayor, I understand that the town acknowledged TG Minto for having 20 years in operation, and I just wondered if that did happen, why council wasn't invited. Is that fact, or am I hearing things?
Well, so the 20 years anniversary was definitely there, and there was pictures taken. I seen the pictures. CAO Thompson,
yeah, thank you. Thank you for Mackenzie's point. My understanding was that we got notification very I know Belinda and the mayor went to represent the town, but my understanding was it was very late notice, so that's why I think a more broader invitation didn't go out, but talking with Kirk at team around.
Anything else, Councillor McKenzie? Hearing none then, so we will recess until 5 o'clock, Clerk McRob?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, so we're officially on recess till 5.
That's all right. Go ahead.
Thank you everyone for coming back to our 5 o'clock public meeting. We have A resolution moved by Councillor Gunson, second by Councillor Elliott, that the Town of Minto Committee of Whole convenes into the Committee of Adjustment. Anyone against this motion? That is passed. We're going to move into the BI Poultry Farm, Tim Drug, and Councillor Dirksen has declared a conflict. Uh-oh. Somebody at the door, but I'm not going to answer it, okay? So this is a public hearing, and any decision reached by this committee today cannot be used to set a precedent. Each application considered by the committee is dealt with on its own merits, and no two applications are exactly the same. Public hearing is to consider a minor variance application, MV 2021-16, Beehive Poultry Farms, Inc., Tim and Ann Margaret Drug. I'll ask Annalene, our Secretary Treasurer McRobb, to add her comments.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Turton. The property subject to the proposed minor variance application is legally described as Concession 7, Part Lot 12, with a municipal address of 64366 line in the Town of Minto. The subject property is approximately 9.99 acres or 4.04 hectares. The purpose and effect of the application is to provide relief from Section 8.2.1a of the Town of Minto's Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw as amendment regarding the minimum lot area required for agricultural uses, buildings and structures in an agricultural zone. The applicant is proposing to replace the existing two-story broiler barn with a ground floor area of 10,800 feet squared and with a one-story broiler barn with a ground floor area of 21,600 feet squared on a lot less than 10.1 hectare or 25 acres. Additional relief may be considered at this meeting. The notices were mailed to the property owners within 200 feet or 60 meters of the subject property, as well as the applicable agencies, and posted on the subject property on September 17th, 2021. Reports and comments were received from Ashley Sawyer, our planning technician for the Town of Minto, and Jessica Ram, senior planner for Wellington County. I would like to advise you that only the applicant has registered to participate in this public hearing.
So we'll ask Ashley, our planning technician, to give her comments, please.
So good evening. So as Annalene mentioned, this minor variance is for a broiler barn on the 6th line. So currently there's a two-story structure that the applicant uses. However, as of 2022, Maple Leaf Farms, which they supply chickens to, is requiring a one-story barn for modular loading. So with the current structure, that's not feasible, as the way it was originally constructed from a structural perspective would not permit for it to be converted. So the owner is still looking to yield the same production capacity, which isn't possible with the two-story structure. So essentially he's looking to make it a one-story structure with the exact same square footage. The relief being requested is regarding the minimum lot area requirements for agricultural uses, as the current bylaw does not permit an agricultural use on the lot of this size. However, it is a legal non-conforming structure technically, and rather than making him apply for a minor variance for anything he may need in the future, this was determined the most efficient way to go about this with the county. So Wellington County Source Water Protection, Maitland Valley, and town staff note there are no concerns, and we believe the application maintains the general intent and purpose of the county official plan and zoning bylaw, and the plan is also in accordance with provincial policy. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have, and I believe Tim, the farmer, is here as well.
Tim, do you have any comments at this time?
Tim, we'll give him a minute to unmute himself here.
Okay, thank you.
There he is. I'm just waiting for him to unmute.
Tim, welcome to our meeting.
There you go.
Thank you very much. Good.
So,
are we good now?
Yeah, the floor is yours, Tim. Go ahead. We can hear you.
Good. Yes. No, we're just hoping to be able to proceed with this and just basically, yeah, utilize our total square footage that we had and rebuild on that site.
So does anybody have any questions for Tim or Ashley at this time? Okay. So then, Annaline will go ahead.
So through you, Deputy Mayor Turton, I will provide for you the approve, I believe at this time, and then you can make a decision with a mover and a seconder on that, that the council of the town of Minto, it should say that the Committee of Adjustment of the town of Minto approves the application by Beehive Poultry Farm, Inc. for property legally described as Concession 7, Part Lot 12, with a municipal address of 6436 6th Line in the town of Minto to provide relief from the Section 8.2.1A of the town of Minto's comprehensive zoning bylaw as amended regarding the minimum lot area requirements for agricultural uses, buildings, and structures in an agricultural zone. So you would need a mover and a seconder.
Thank you, Annaline. Can we have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Elliott, thank you. Councillor Gunson. So you have heard the motion, and it's is there moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Gunson. Is there anybody against this motion? Please raise your hand. Seeing none, it's passed. That motion is passed. And so anyone wishing to receive a copy of the notice of decision of the Committee of Adjustment is in respect to the minor variance application must make a written request to the clerk of the town of Minto at 5941 Highway 89, Hairston, NOG 1Z0, or by email at annaline@town.minto.on.ca. I will officially adjourn this public meeting. Tim, thank you for coming. I'm not sure if you've been to a public meeting before, but you've not been to one this simple.
No, this is, and I get to stay at home and do it. That's
So what is Tim's next step, Annaline or Ashley?
So essentially we'll just be waiting for the appeal period to run out. And in the meantime, he can get his building plans in. So the day the appeal period's up, he can have a permit issued if he wishes.
excellent. I appreciate that. We'll,
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So we have sorry, Councillor Elliott, do you have something? No? Okay. So we'll move back to our regular council, moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Gunson, that the Committee of Adjustment convenes into regular council. Anyone against that motion? That's passed. Welcome back, Judy. Any notice of motions? Hearing none, we'll move right along then to our resolutions. Moved by Councillor Dirksen, seconded by Councillor McKenzie, that the Council of Town of Minto ratifies the motions made.
Through you, Deputy Mayor Turton, I'm
yes.
sorry. Councillor McKenzie is not here. If we could please have a different seconder.
Can we have a seconder on that, please? Councillor Dirksen. So, sorry.
She's the mover.
She's moving it. Councillor Gunson. So, the resolution moved by Councillor Dirksen, seconded by Councillor Gunson, that the Council of Town of Minto ratifies the motions made in the Committee of the Whole. Anyone against? That's carried. Thank you very much. We'll move along into the bylaws. Resolution moved by Councillor Gunson, seconded by Councillor Dirksen, that bylaw 2021-79 to confirm actions to the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Minto respecting a meeting held October 5th, 21. Be read first, second, and third time. And passed in open council, sealed with the corporation. Anyone against that motion? That motion is carried. Moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Anderson. The Council of the Town of Minto adjourns to meet again at the call of the mayor. Anyone against that? That's passed as well. CAO Thompson, have you? Is there anything you want to talk to us about?
No.
Okay, so Annaline needs some signatures over the next day or so. They'll be in her garage, correct, Annaline?
Yes.
Okay. So we are officially adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone. And we'll see you later on in the fall.